All right, so we're finally tackling the Urantia book, huh? Got my thinking cap on, ready for this deep dive, but gotta admit, this forward, it's a lot. It's like they decided to write an instruction manual for the universe and then handed it to us in Sanskrit or something.
Well, you're not wrong about the complexity, but it's interesting you say instruction manual because, in a way, that's exactly how this forward frames itself.
Oh, how so?
Right from the first few paragraphs, there's this awareness that the book is dealing with huge, complex ideas. God, divinity. They even say outright that human language struggles to grasp these concepts.
So it's self-aware, at least. Like, hey, we know this is going to get weird, so buckle up. Kind of refreshing, actually.
Exactly. And that's why the forward is so important. It's laying the groundwork for a system of thought that's pretty different from what most folks are used to.
Okay, that makes sense. But does it really need this whole cosmic address system? I mean, Earth is Urantia, which is inside Nebadon, which is inside Orvonton, circling Havona. My head's spinning, just trying to keep it all straight.
I hear you. Those names can feel like a mouthful at first. But try not to get too hung up on memorizing everything just yet. It's more about understanding the bigger picture.
Okay, so what is the bigger picture? Help me out here.
Think of it this way. Instead of just heaven and earth, the Urantia book is presenting a vast, multi-layered cosmos. Each of those names, from Urantia to Havona, represents a different level within that structure.
So it's like cosmic Russian nesting dolls.
Exactly. And each layer has its own unique characteristics, its own inhabitants, its own role to play in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this cosmic map. But then they throw in all these specific definitions for deity, divinity, God.
It's like they're trying to outdo Webster's dictionary over here.
And this is where things get really interesting, especially for someone like you who's already familiar with different belief systems, because their definitions don't always line up with traditional understandings.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like when they define deity as this unifying force behind everything, is that more like pantheism?
That's the kind of question they want us to ask. They're pushing us to compare and contrast to see how their ideas fit or don't fit with what we already know. Okay, challenge accepted. But then just when I thought I was getting a handle on things, bam, sections point 7 and point 8 hit me with the supreme being, the ultimate, the absolute. Are these just fancy synonyms for God, or are we talking about something totally different?
You've hit on a key point here. It's easy to get lost in the terminology, but try to focus on the underlying concepts. What are they really trying to get at with these terms?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure I know. It's like they're speaking a different language sometimes.
And that's part of the journey this book takes us on. They're introducing us to a new vocabulary, a new way of thinking about the universe and our place within it.
A new vocabulary, huh? Well, my brain's definitely getting a workout today, but I'm up for the challenge. So, where do we go from here? What's next on our cosmic syllabus?
Well, now that we've got a basic understanding of the framework, we can start to explore the specifics. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack.
I bet. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to explore more of the Urantia book after this. Okay, so we've downloaded the Cosmic Operating System from the forward. Time to boot up the actual Urantia book. Where do we even begin with this thing? It's massive.
Well, if the forward was our zoom out to see the whole universe, Part 1 is like panning across the cosmos with a super-powered telescope. It starts in the very center, that Havona place they mentioned, and spirals outward, introducing us to super universes. It's a lot to take in all at once.
You're telling me. And the language, oh boy. It's like someone mashed up a religious text with a science fiction epic and sprinkled in some philosophy for good measure. My brain is doing backflips trying to keep up.
It's definitely a unique blend, and I think that's what makes it so captivating. Instead of shying away from big, complex ideas, it leans right in, but it does it in a way that sparks your imagination. It's almost like they want us to try and visualize these realms, these beings, to experience it all in our minds, not just intellectually.
Which makes sense, given how much the book emphasizes experience and evolution. Speaking of beings, we finally get to meet the big players in this cosmic drama. The Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Are they like the ultimate power trio, Urantia style?
In a way, yes. But the book portrays their relationship much differently than traditional Christianity. Instead of a single entity, the Urantia book describes them as distinct individuals, co-equal, co-eternal, who together form this paradise trinity.
Okay, so 3 distinct beings, but working together as one force. And this trinity isn't just some abstract idea, right? It sounds like they're the driving force behind everything in the Urantia universe.
Absolutely. The Urantia book presents the Trinity as the source of all energy, all personality, all reality, at least as they define it. And it operates on every level imaginable, from the grand cosmic scale all the way down to our individual experiences as humans.
Which brings us back to those thought adjusters, something that really caught my attention back in the foreword. It's just such a wild concept, these fragments of the Father literally residing within us, guiding us toward, well, something more. What's your take on that?
It's a truly fascinating idea, isn't it? The book describes them as pre-personal spirits, distinct from our souls, yet working in tandem with them. It's like this built-in system that helps us develop spiritually and make choices that align with the Father's will.
It's like having a spiritual GPS guiding us on our journey. Only this GPS is directly connected to the source. Pretty convenient, if you ask me.
A very apt analogy. And the book emphasizes that this isn't some autopilot situation. The thought adjusters can nudge us in the right direction, but ultimately we're the ones behind the wheel making the choices. We have free will to accept or reject their guidance.
Right. So it all ties back to evolution again. We aren't static beings. We're constantly growing and changing, and those thought adjusters are there to help us along the way, like cosmic mentors.
Exactly. And what's even more intriguing is that this process, this journey with our thought adjusters, continues even after death. The Urantia book outlines an incredibly detailed cosmology of the afterlife, with different levels and stages of spiritual progression.
Oh yeah, I read ahead a bit. It makes Dante's Inferno look like a walk in the park. But it's not about punishment, right? It's about education, refinement, continued growth.
You hit the nail on the head. The Urantia book views death not as the end, but as a transition to a new phase of existence. Imagine a chance to keep learning, keep evolving on a spiritual level, even after your time on Earth is done.
So basically, cosmic school never ends. I hope there are at least some fun electives in this afterlife curriculum. But seriously, even though this cosmology is crazy detailed, it's just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Right. They aren't just giving us a new map of the universe. They're trying to change how we see ourselves within it. It's about how we understand our place in this grand scheme.
So it's not just about the knowledge we gain, but about how we live our lives.
Exactly. And that's where the story of Jesus comes in, which takes up a significant portion of this book. It's like they decided to give the life and teachings of Jesus the full director's cut treatment. What do you make of that choice?
Yeah, it's a huge chunk of text dedicated to Jesus. Why do you think that is? Is it just a retelling of what we already find in the Bible?
That's the thing. It's not just a rehash. The Urantia book presents Jesus as more than just a historical figure. He's a revelation of God, a living example of what it means to be in perfect alignment with the Father's will.
So it's about showing us what we as humans are capable of by using Jesus as this ultimate role model. Yeah.
Exactly. And not in some distant, impossible-to-reach way. The book highlights Jesus' human side, his emotions, his struggles, his incredible compassion. It's about making him relatable, someone we can connect with on a personal level.
I did notice that. It's like they're trying to give us this complete picture of who Jesus was, even going into detail about parts of his life that aren't in the Bible. Why add those details? What's the point of filling in the gaps, so to speak?
It's an interesting approach, isn't it? We get glimpses of his childhood, his travels, his interactions with people from all walks of life. And I think the key takeaway here is that they're emphasizing the universality of Jesus' message, its relevance to everyone, regardless of their background or beliefs.
It's like they're saying, this message is for everyone. Don't just take our word for it. See for yourself. Okay, so we've got this mind-blowing cosmology, this unique take on Jesus's life and teachings. But let's be real, the Urantia book isn't exactly light reading, is it? It's dense, it's complex, and they've got their own dictionary of terms to learn.
That's very true. It's not the kind of book you can skim through on your lunch break. It requires your full attention, your active engagement.
So for someone listening who's intrigued, but also maybe a little intimidated, how do you suggest they approach it? Any advice for someone dipping their toes into the Urantia universe for the first time? So we've gone from the edge of the universe with their crazy map to, well, right back to us here on Earth.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say is kind of a relief, but it makes me wonder, with all this cosmic setup, what's the takeaway for how we actually live our lives? Does the Urantia book give us like a to-do list?
You're after the practical application, aren't you? Always the learner. And that's a fair question. But like most things in this book, the answer isn't so simple. Don't expect a list of thou shalts carved in stone.
So no cosmic rule book. Bummer. I was hoping for some shortcuts.
No shortcuts, I'm afraid. But they do emphasize certain core ideas, like living a life of, you probably see this coming, love and service to others.
Okay, not exactly a groundbreaking concept. Every religion talks about being nice, right? So what makes their version different?
It's true, those themes pop up everywhere. But the Urantia book digs a bit deeper. Love isn't just a feeling here, it's an action. It's the choice we make to want the best for others. Even when, maybe, especially when it's tough.
So less about warm fuzzies, more about showing up even when it's inconvenient.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when facing challenges. And that connects to another biggie they hit on. Always searching for truth and wisdom.
Makes sense. Gotta keep learning, right? But this is the Urantia book. There's gotta be a twist. What's the catch?
You know me too well. They're all about questioning everything. Be skeptical, they're saying.
Yeah.
Don't just take things at face value. Look for new knowledge, even if it challenges what you think you believe. They even say blind faith without using your brain is a kind of immature way to believe.
Hold on. They're encouraging critical thinking, even about their book. That's kind of wild.
Exactly. They're not shying away from questions or doubts. In fact, they see those as crucial to how we grow spiritually.
That's pretty different from most religions, right? Usually it's all about faith, no questions asked.
They do value faith, but not blind faith. They see it as something that grows alongside understanding, not in spite of it. It's about finding that sweet spot between faith and reason, tradition and progress, all that good stuff.
Finding that balance. That's the trick, isn't it? It's not about blindly following rules, but always learning and growing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
The Urantia book says that in that ongoing exploration, that dance between faith and reason, that's where we find our true potential as spiritual beings.
It's a journey, huh? Not just across the cosmos, but through ourselves, figuring out what we believe and why.
Exactly. A journey of self-discovery, and the Urantia book doesn't pretend to have all the answers or give you a guaranteed roadmap. It's more like a compass than a map.
So it points us in the right direction, but we gotta navigate the terrain ourselves.
Precisely. It's an invitation to find your own path, always seeking something bigger than yourself, even if the destination's a mystery.
I like that. Embrace the mystery, keep searching, keep learning. Which seems like a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into the Urantia book. It's been, well, a lot to absorb.
That's the beauty of it. It sparks that curiosity, that drive to keep exploring, and leaves us with more to ponder than when we started.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, what's the one thing you hope they take away from this? What's that final thought you want to leave them with?
If you remember nothing else, remember this. Don't be afraid to explore, to question, to keep searching. Like the Urantia book reminds us, the universe is vast and full of wonder, full of mystery and potential. There's always something new to learn about ourselves and the world around us.
Love it. Embrace the mystery, keep exploring, keep learning. Perfectly said. And on that note, we'll leave you to continue your own explorations. Until next time, keep diving deep.